Hey guys, Rod here at A Better Way to Farm, where we improve yields and improve profits. We are excited to be coming at you today. We're going to talk about doing some mining. No, we're not mining lithium. We're not mining gold. We're talking about the age-old story of, can I go out here and grow a corn crop with a liquid-only program and not mine my soil? Let me say this. The first thing that I typically hear is that, well, we hear that everybody knows. Everybody knows if you only use a liquid program, you're going to mine your soils. And then we go into that deal of where I know a guy, I know my brother's nephew's neighbor had a dog, and his owner's cousin's brother's nephew, they used the liquid program and they mined their soils. Really. Or they say, well, somebody did this. I always want to meet somebody, and I always want to meet everybody. And here's what I'll say. Everybody knows in 1491, everybody knew the earth was flat. And then in 1492, something happened, right? And so I get suspicious when everybody knows. And I want to make sure that we're talking facts here. So let's talk some facts about our soils. Number one, let's talk about the idea that we're worried about mining, and we come out here. First of all, we only use a dry program, and we use NPK, 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 more N, more N, more N, more P, more P, more P, more K, more K, more K. And that way we don't mine our soils. But we never put on zinc, we never put on manganese, we never put on copper, we never put on iron, we never put on sulfur or calcium or any of the other micros or secondaries. You tell me, what happened to those? The fact is, we have seen those very successfully farmed out, and we have the tissue test and the soil test to prove it. Over and over again, we get soil tests in, and the micronutrients are their limiting factor. And that's what's causing them to not get the yields that they deserve. And so, number one, yes, you can mine your soils if you don't put anything back on. Number two, let's talk about nutrient levels in the soil. Nitrogen, we're never going to build that. We know that. Nitrogen, sulfur, and boron, they're all negatively charged. They all run away, and we used to get sulfur and boron from the atmosphere, which no longer happens because we've cleaned up the environment. So now we got to put on nitrogen, sulfur, and boron every year, and that's just a fact for most of us. Number two, as we start looking at these phosphorus levels out here on the average acre of Midwest soil, in the top 6 inches, there is about 6,000 pounds of phosphorus. Now, it shows up as a P1, which is plant available, a P2, which is there ready to become plant available, and then there's a third number you get when you ash the soil, burn it down to its elements, and figure out what's there. It's about 6,000 pounds, roughly, on the average acre of Midwest soil. Let's talk about potassium. In potassium, we go out here, and Dr. Mulvaney tells us that there's 360,000 to 480,000 pounds of K in the top 6 feet of the soil. And we've had some people come at us pretty hard and want to dispute that. One individual said there's only 40,000 pounds. So okay, I'll tilt my head and say, are you listening to you? Only 40,000 pounds. I think that'll do you. That's probably sufficient. But that is not all plant available, and that's what they come back with. So let me tell you some interesting work that we have done. We've came out into cornfields like this one. We've dug root pits down, and in the top 6 feet of soil, there is, on the tests that we've looked at, because we've tested it, we went down 6 inches, and then we went down a foot below that in increments until we got down below 6 feet. We have seen a high in that top 6 feet of soil of well over 8,000 pounds of available K. We have seen a low, the lowest number we have seen in plant available K. This is plant available, not by ashing it down to its elements. Plant available potassium in the top 6 feet, 3,300 pounds per acre. That's why driving roots is important. Let's talk about the math. Everybody wants to talk about math. Let's do it. We come out here, we put on 200 pounds of 1846O. So we've put on, 92 pounds of phosphorus? True, we did. And of that, what would they tell us? That we would receive, Bex would tell us, on the average, you get about 10% into the corn plant. So that's about 9.2 pounds of phosphorus that you spread that goes into the corn plant, okay? How do we get more of that into the corn plant? What if we use a good liquid 318-18? And in that good 318-18, what are you gonna get? somewhere around 11.2 to 12.2 pounds of phosphorus in the seed trench in an ortho form that all goes into the plant. That's our goal, and that's what we're doing. And you say, yeah, but we put on 92 pounds and there was 80 of it left behind. Yes, there was. And the iron in the soil or the calcium in the soil or whatever it is that you have, the aluminum, which all of us have way more aluminum than what we really want. That's naturally occurring, and a lot of times we've added to it with the dry fertilizer, but the aluminum ties it up, and all of a sudden, what we apply isn't there. So let's talk some facts. What are some of the facts that we know? Well, I'll take, for instance, my good friend Chris, who's been tracking, we've been tracking his phosphorus levels in his fields. And in a 7-year period, his P1 phosphorus went from 16 to 26. Guys, that's a 60% improvement in P1 phosphorus. 60% in 7 years, no dry. Guys, there's no one out here that wants you to soil test more than we do. We want to pull test every year for at least the first 3 years, and thereafter every other year, probably for the rest of your life. Why? Because that's the most intelligent money we can spend to track what's going on. Guys, we know that the yields you get today are not going to be sufficient for you to farm in 10 years. And so we have to keep these levels up. We do need to be in a build program, but we need to be in a build program that actually builds. We talk to people every week their farm has been in a build program for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, and they're still in a build program. By definition, shouldn't it get built? Guys, we have to be honest with ourselves. The 11th commandment, if I wrote it, would be, thou shalt not kid thyself. And the fact of the matter is, if we've been in a build program for 20 years and it's not done, we need a new contractor. Boom, that's the story. The fact of the matter is, we have countless people that we can have you talk to that's been with us 7 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, used only a liquid program, and their K and their P levels are better than when they started. And that is the bottom line on this. And the kicker, 100% of what they're putting on gets forced into the plant. And the majority of it, I did a podcast on this the other day. Go find it when I was talking about baleen residue. Go to the podcast platform and get it. But the amount of nutrients left in this residue is enormous. And so the next step becomes, how do we get that to recycle? How do we get that to turn loose and feed next year's crop? Life's pretty simple, guys. All we got to do is figure out how it works and then get on the right side of it. But so much of the time, we spend time wasting time arguing with the laws of nature, arguing with what really works. Why? Because somebody somewhere said, my cousin's nephew's neighbor said, everybody knows, somebody had this happen once. We ain't never talked to somebody, but we know that somebody had it happen once. I'm not even saying that it didn't, but what I am saying is there's a different way to do this. We're going to go into this extensively in our fundamentals of agronomy programs, and they start next month. Today's November 1st, and we're so stoked because in December we start the programs, and we're looking forward to meeting you there. If you're interested in learning more about this and getting the facts instead of the somebody said, then reach out to us in the comments. Put down fundamentals, and let's get together and let's talk about the fundamentals that will work for you. We know that everything that happens in agriculture is good for somebody. We need it to be good for you. Guys, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you very much, and we really do hope you're having a better day.